Hi everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the book Refuge. And welcome to another weekly wrap up. This one's going up a little late. Of course, I sit down in front of the camera and I hate my hair. That's how it goes. Hi, I also just wanted to pop in real quick here before I forgot to welcome some new channel members that joined while I was on vacation. So we have 3 new channel members. We have B, who joined at the Fated Friend level. Briana, who is a new sassy supporter, and Smidgen of Sass, who is a romantic renegade. So thank you all so much for joining the channel. It means a lot to me, especially with changing career and new things that have happened. It is so important to me to know that you guys value what I do here. So thank you so much. Make sure you reach out to me via Instagram or different socials so I can get you your Discord benefits. But you can always find everything that you need in the community tab of my YouTube. So thank you so much. For those of you who don't follow my other social medias, you might not know, but I spent the last 4 days in Utah visiting my book bestie, Crystal, from Crystal's Bookish Life. So the beginning of this, because here's the thing, I was going to vlog the whole thing. I actually had a starter clip. I filmed a little bit of travel on the way there. And then as soon as I got to the home of my bestie, I didn't care about filming anything, and neither really did she. There will be like sit down videos that we filmed together, which will be going up this week. I'll probably put those up on Tuesday and Thursday, or Monday and Wednesday, not sure yet. Because we did pick a day to like film sitting down, but we didn't want to like pull out our cameras and talk to it really while we were together because our time was very short and very precious. But I will tell you a little bit about what we did. Maybe I'll throw in a couple pictures. If you don't care about those and you're just here for the books, you can go ahead and skip to the time. I will put a time here where you can just skip to the reading wrap up, but I know some of you do care. So I want to talk a little bit about what happened. So as I've said before, I am switching jobs. So I had the last day of one of my jobs was on, I believe, like the 21st. And I have 10 days off until my new job starts, which will be starting this coming Tuesday. And I wasn't for sure that I would get to have those whole 10 days because my one boss wanted me to stay a little longer just because he wanted to make sure that I was paid for the whole month. And I was like, I'm okay. I'd rather have some time off because my previous jobs, I've always had to like jump from one thing to the other. I never got to just enjoy some time off. And when you start a new job, you can't take vacation right away, or you shouldn't. So as soon as I found out that I would have those 10 days, I messaged Crystal and I said, so, you know how you said I could come sleep on your couch? Can I do that? Will your family be okay with it? Because I can do it. I will buy a ticket and I will be there next week if I can. And so very graciously, her sweet husband and boys said it was okay. And they are the sweetest. So I bought my tickets, and a week after I asked her, I was there. So I flew in Wednesday morning, and I was there until yesterday morning, Saturday. We got to see Sam from Sam Reads a Little, who doesn't live too far from Crystal. So we went out to eat one of the nights. We went to a bunch of Crystal's favorite places, definitely went to Swig, and we went to Fizz, and we got cookies. And for going to visit my healthiest friend, my fit, wonderful, beautiful friend, she sure gave me a lot of sugar while I was there. But yes, we filmed some videos, and I had actually ordered from her shop about a month ago. And so when I was there, she made my beautiful pony. It's my little unicorn. This was so much fun getting to watch her work. She actually has, if you don't know this about her, she actually has a business called Tumble Creatures where she makes these gorgeous, beautiful creatures. And so this was my little memento, my little buddy that I got to bring back with me. She's so cute. So she's going to be like the new mascot for the channel. Her name is Star. She's our new mascot. I have her hanging out with the Mafia boys, which I've decided she's a pretty sassy girl. So anyway, we climbed a mountain, which I knew was going to be intense, okay? Like, I'm not stupid, but she promised me a moderate hike, and I feel like I was lied to. We climbed up to 5,400 feet, which I live in Fargo, which is about at 900 feet elevation. So it was a lot for me. But it was so much fun, like going with Crystal and doing that. And I just had such a great time. And I know some of you who rely on the book community to keep you sane and to keep you entertained, that you'll appreciate what it means to get to visit someone who's been so close to you, even though they're so far away. And that doesn't just have to be in the book community. I mean, that happens with our families. We end up far away. But I started talking with Crystal about a year ago from here. You know, we became friends then through our book channels, and I don't know what I would do. Like, honestly, I talk with her every day. She understands me on a level that a lot of my friends don't these days. And I really survived lockdown with her help, and others too. Like, it isn't solely her, but she's the one who I feel the safest with and the most cherished and loved. I mean, I flew to her house having never met her in person, and I felt so safe doing that. And she felt safe enough letting me come and stay with her family, this, you know, would-be stranger kind of thing. So I know I'm getting a little philosophical, but it really was a very powerful experience, and it was so much fun. And I can't wait to go back someday. And I mean, just spending time with someone like that, you know, it can be awkward when you like meet someone in person, but I immediately felt just at home with her, that it was just like we were talking every day. But now I got to be in person, and I got to hug her and hang out with her, and it was epic. Like, it was almost better than going to Harry Potter World. No, I'm kidding. It was better than that. But that's the kind of like fun that it was, and the kind of just like peace that I had there. Like, there was never an awkward moment where I'm like, I feel like I'm invading something or this is awkward. And I got to meet Kazi, who is as large as life and as adorable as he seems in all of her vlogs. He was always very rambunctious to see me, and was kind of like, who's this person in my house? Like, you know. But yeah, it was so much fun. Okay, so let's get into the books, because I did get some books read, mostly before I went on my trip, and then like on the plane rides. I did get like one book read while I was there, just, you know, when there would be some quiet times, or when Crystal had to, you know, like work out, because she does that. But I only read 11 books, and I don't care, because it was vacation, and I deserved it. So let's go through what I read, though. So I read The Protégé by Briana Hale. This was on my TBR. This is also a book that I annotated. It has been annotated also by Izzy from Happy for Now. Sorry, just whoop. And Tamika from Library of Tomes. This was something that we kind of started long time ago, like way beginning of the pandemic. We have, some of us romance booktubers have books we're sending around to annotate. So like I sent The Bride around to some friends. I'm still waiting for some people to read that. And this is one that Tamika sent around. And I had also done Managed by Kristen Callahan for someone before. So I'm going to get this sent off to the next person. But this is a Guardian Ward romance. But it's taking place, I believe, like 5 or 6 years later afterwards. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But this girl became a ward. Her name is Isabeau. And his name is Laszlo. And he discovered her talent she was in a very unsafe place. So he was her guardian from the age of like 8, basically. And after 10 years of guardianship, when she was 18, she makes a move with him that does not go well. That is inappropriate. And it's even more inappropriate because when she makes that move, he finds that he is attracted back, and he really questions his, you know, ability to be her guardian anymore. And so she leaves his home. And all of this happened in the past. In the present, she is now trying out for his orchestra to be a part of it. She plays the cello, I believe, which is what he first discovered her for, was her talent as a child. And now she has an opportunity to tour with him and be in his orchestra, but they need to get their personal stuff figured out if they want to do that. This has light daddy kink and light BDSM as well. Also, again, nothing really inappropriate happened when she was underage. It all happened either once she was 18 or as well as like afterwards. So I ended up giving this 4 stars. I thought it was really good. Briana Hale's writing style can be hit or miss for me, even when I really love the story she's telling. And this one was a little bit of like, it's probably close to one of my favorites of hers, and I really understand why this one is Tamika's favorite. All right, sorry. We had to reposition a little bit because I film in front of my window, and there's always someone's vehicle parked just so the sun hits my face. Like, they would park one spot over. We'd be fine, but, you know, then it wouldn't be the struggles. Okay, so that was the first book. Then I read The Play by Elle Kennedy. This was also on my TBR for this month. I'm trying to make my way through the Briar You series, and I'm still debating whether I actually read the 4th book, because I think it's universally, people think Elle Kennedy's like worst like college one that she's done. But this one was pretty good. This was a Friends to Lovers. It starts with our heroine, is it Rose? Demi. It starts with our heroine, Demi, in a relationship with kind of her high school sweetheart. And our hero, Hunter, is going on like a dating fast, which is fine because she's in a relationship with someone else. But they become friends while doing a psychology project together. And then when Hunter finds out that her boyfriend is a cheating scumbag, he has to decide whether he's honest with her or whether he stays out of it, because it could look like he's maybe trying to make a move on her. So this was pretty good. I gave this 4 stars. I know this is a lot of people's favorites. I think part of it is that I'm a little bit past college sport romances, and that hurts to say, but also like phases come and go. Like, I'm not saying I won't ever feel that way again, but specifically this brand of like slow burn, college, school is happening, the drama of other people in there, like it's just not my jive anymore as a 28-year-old. And there was a time when these kind of books were just the shit that I ate up. But I really don't love when we're like stuck in college and we have to listen to our parents' opinions about things and people are nosy about that. You know, it's just not my vibe. But this was a 4-star for me. It was good. I listened to it on audio, read along with it. It was a fine time. Then I read Kiss of the Blood Prince by Alessa Thorne. This is the first book in a Wrath of the Fae trilogy. And it's very interesting because it's kind of post-apocalyptic as well as fantasy, paranormal, these things. And we have our heroine who, for some reason, is able to see the Blood Prince when they come in and kind of destroy this city. She's able to see him, and so he takes her captive and basically makes her a slave in his household. But the thing in this series is all of our princes have a curse put on them, different for each one. But, Kyan is, I think, how we say this one's name. He has a curse to kind of be a vampire, basically. And his hair, which was bright fiery red, is slowly losing its color. And he only has a little bit of red left in his hair. And once that fully dissipates, he will die. Which, in his mind, is only a few years, but it's probably like he has like 20 years or so left, something like that, maybe more. But for an immortal creature, that is a deadline. And so he's very angry about it. He discovers when, this is definitely a hate to love, enemies to, like, this is an enemies to lovers. He has kidnapped her. This is captive. She's a slave in his household. And she's just trying to stay out of everybody's way because the other Fae, they also hate her and want to kill her. And he's like, she's my slave. I'll kill her when I want to kill her. You guys stay away from her. And then there's one point where they have kind of like a fight and he ends up biting her because he's like, well, you're my toy to play with. I'm going to bite you. And he discovers when she will willingly give her blood to him because things get a little bit sexy and she's more like, do it again. It starts to heal his curse. Like, it starts to break it and he starts to get red coming back into his hair. And this series is also a fated mate series, so I feel like that's telling you what's going on as well. Like, the title of it literally is The Kiss of the Blood Prince, a fated mate romance. Wrath of the Fae is a series. It's one of those that has a really long title. So I give this 4.5 stars. This is novella length, and I do feel like it did a really great job. I felt like their story wasn't gypped because it was shorter. What did feel kind of rushed, and this was why I docked 0.5 star, is that the love between the two of them, being a human and a Fae, has political ramifications for the world and trying to create a peace between the two of them because now, you know, spoiler alert, they're going to have an HEA and we have a human mated to a Fae, and let's see if we can, you know, do something about the war that's happening between the two of us so that we don't make each other go extinct. So that kind of like sets up stuff that happens in the next 2 books. But it was fairly clunky and a beautiful story. Like, I would have rather had more time with them together than these scenes where they were needing to figure out the political stuff. You know what I mean? But I enjoyed it a lot. I really, really did. And then I read Between the Devil and Desire by Loraine Heath. This is the next book in, I believe, The Scoundrels of St. James. And this one is about Jack Dodger and Olivia, Duchess of Lovington. And so what happens in this book is that Olivia's husband has died. He was an older husband. He mostly left her alone. He was seen as a pretty, like, not like pious, but he was a good guy. He didn't have any debts. He wasn't in any trouble, but he like left her alone. After they had their son, who her son is 5 or 6 years old, he left her alone. He didn't want anything to do with her. And again, though, like in a nice way, he wasn't mean or cruel. He let her have the run of the house and he stayed away from her. And it was clear that he used to love someone else. And he viewed having an heir with her a duty, but he didn't even want to try. So at the beginning of this book, he has died. And Jack Dodger, who runs a gentleman's and gambling club, gets invited to the reading of the will, and we don't understand why. And when we read this will, we discover that Jack Dodger, who seemingly has no connection with Lovington, has been made guardian of Olivia's son. And not only that, but all of his holdings until he reaches the age of like 21 or something. And that means that he can take everything from Olivia, because anything that she, like, he's left her a stipend of like a really small one, but everything that, you know, they have, like, it belongs to her son, which means it now belongs to Jack until her son is of age. And in the beginning, Jack is just like, well, I don't want this responsibility. I don't want anything to do with this at all. And the lawyer says, well, there is someone else who could be the guardian, but I'm not allowed to tell you that unless you fully give up all rights to being his guardian. And so we don't know who that could be. So this is a forced proximity novel because Jack now owns her home, which is very hurtful and painful to Olivia because she thought she was a good wife. She did what he asked. She stayed out of his way. She took care of their son. Her son was everything she had to live for, and now none of it is hers. And she's at the whims of this seemingly devilish man. This was very delightful. It really was. This series, I would say, it is like slow burn for a lot of stuff, but the tension is great. One of the stipulations in the will is that if Jack gets her married to someone else, then that person will become the guardian of her son. So he's like, well, let's get you married off. And she's like, I've been mourning for 2 years. And also, I don't know if I can trust whoever I'll get married off to. At least you don't seem like you want to mess with us. But we'll see how that all goes. So I gave this one 4.5 stars. You'll find with this series that, like, I'm just missing a little of the extra oomph that I get from Loraine Heath. And I was speaking with one of my friends yesterday, and I guess this series might be the first one where she switched from, like, Westerns to Regency. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. But actually, I don't know if this is Regency. It might be Victorian. Yeah, this is Victorian. Because they're going to the Great Exhibition in this series a lot. This is Victorian. But it's not as, like, sexy and fun as some of her other ones are. But the story was still very compelling. I've listened to these on, well, I think I had to find this one on Scribd. For some reason, this one wasn't on Anyplay, but the other 3 were. So this one I had to grab on Scribd. But it's really, really good. I'm reading the 3rd one right now. So yeah, 4.5 stars for this one. Then, I really wanted to read this one because I've been following this author on TikTok and I knew that this was going to be a really spicy book. So there's this little novella called Tell Me You Want Me by Willow Winters. This was my first Willow Winters that I completed. I will be reading more Willow Winters in September. Because again, I've been watching her TikToks and I just really like her a lot. And this one is a office romance. It's banging it in like the 2nd chapter. She literally wrote this book as a challenge because she wanted to get more chili peppers from people who were rating her books. And it's definitely, I don't rate things based on spice, which is something that I have debated now and then, but I struggle enough with rating a book regularly that it's difficult to like rate spice levels as well. But this was very spicy. So this is about our hero. They've like taken over the company and he's needing to like reevaluate it. And she works in their marketing company and they have this crazy sexual tension. And he has this rule. He's like, I want to have a fling with you. But the way this goes is that we don't talk about work after 6 p.m. We are just together. Whatever happens between us has nothing to do with work. Even if I'm letting go your coworkers, even if I'm having to do certain things, like none of this is personal. This is all business. If you want that, we can have one of the sexiest times together you've ever imagined. And that's what they do. But of course, the business can't always stay the business for some people. The lines are showing up. God. All right. Then, right before I went to visit Crystal, I had heard about these Choose Your Own Adventure erotica that was on Kindle Unlimited. I'd first heard about Katie Robert talked about it on her TikTok. And then I saw someone else mention it too, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a try because I didn't want to get started in another book yet. So I read Fertile in My Ex-Boyfriend's Dungeon by Amanda Clover, I think. So this is a Choose Your Own Adventure. There's not too much else to say about this. This is difficult to even rate as a regular book because you, like, if you ever read a Choose Your Own Adventure when you were a kid, you know that, like, there's a theme and you get, like, a backstory at the beginning and then you choose your scenarios. The setup of this is that there's this stupid wizard named Simon who captures monsters. He's a wizard and he has this dungeon that's 13 levels. And he captures human women, mostly human women, to be bred by these monsters because he wants to create this like different kind of combinations between human and creature things. So he will capture women, put them in the dungeon, and then they can get out if they either make it through all 13 levels without getting fucked, or else if they pick a monster, fuck the monster, and get pregnant, then the monster and the woman will get to leave together with their baby because they successfully did what he wanted. That's literally the setup of this. There are 10 of them out so far. There's supposed to be 13. In each of the books, there's 3 different monsters that you can encounter, and you basically pick which one you want to fuck. So this is hard to rate. I mean, you'll see I read one more of them, which we'll get to later, but, well, we can talk about it now. I read Volume 1 and Volume 2 and part of Volume 3 last night is when I read Volume 2 last night. And I mean, they're really difficult to rate. You'll see if you read it because it's not really a coherent story. Maybe the thing overall will be. So I just gave them 3 stars because that's right down the middle. And you'll find on Goodreads, like, they're not rated highly, but they're fun. And I think it was a cool idea to do, especially if you love monster smut and you want to see the weird stuff. In some of them I've read, there's been a werewolf. There's been a... what else was there? There's been an orc. There's been munchkin. Like, there's been some things, and you get to choose what you want. So then I read The Royals Next Door by Karina Halle. This is a new release that will be coming out on the 31st, I believe. I got this one quite a while ago. I read this on the plane. I know a lot of people are dying for this one, but this is an author that I have mixed feelings about anyway. Like, I love some of her stuff, and also I'm ambivalent towards some of it because some of it is just so angsty that I can't handle it. This was not that. But it also, because it's going to be a traditionally published one, like, I just don't like those. I don't know what else to say. This is a cute setup. It's very ripped from the headlines. It's definitely Meghan and Harry move to a small island town to try to have some time alone away from wherever. Of course, they're not Meghan and Harry in the book, but that's 100,000% who it is. And they have a bodyguard whose name is Harrison. He is like best friends with the prince as well as his bodyguard. And then we have Piper, who ends up being the next door neighbor to them, which is why it's called The Royals Next Door. And she is a school teacher on this island. She also has a romance podcast, which was a cute nod, but as a romance reader, I don't need things to be nodded to me that much. You know, it just makes me like roll my eyes sometimes when I'm just like, there was stuff being said about romance in this book that we all know to be true. And then when an author like puts something that obvious like into a book, it can just feel very false. Like, it just feels very false because it's like, you put this in here so that romance readers who review books will be like, oh, I feel seen. And I'm like, I don't need to feel seen. I just want to read it. I'm in a sassy mood, y'all. Deal with it. But she ends up coming home and trying to go home, and Harrison like stops her and asks to see her ID. Because of reasons she doesn't have her ID with, so he's not going to let her through. So they have to call the police of the town. So the police say, yes, Piper lives here. And then like, where's your ID? And she's like, something happened to it. I didn't realize I need my ID to get into my house. Okay. Her mother also has kind of some anxiety and mental disorders going on. So it's part of the reason she lives with her mom to take care of her. And she's worried her mom will not handle all the press and everything well that's going to be around their homes. And this is romance between Piper and the bodyguard. It was 4 stars. It was cute. It was fun. Once we got to the sexy times, it was great. It didn't have a horrible internal conflict. It was mostly external. But it was just missing some stuff for me. It was just like, okay. Which is how I feel a lot about traditionally published books these days. Then I read Someone to Love by Kristen Granata. This was one I was seeing a bunch of my friends really love. This has a hero who was a football player who has a spinal cord injury. He sometimes needs to be in a wheelchair or walk with a cane because of that. It was never thought that he would walk again because of the injury that he got. And he works for his grandmother at an inn that she owns. Well, I doubt he's really like working for her because he's kind of a millionaire, having been a football guy. And our heroine, she comes to stay at the inn for 3 months because her mother recently died and she's completing some of her mother's bucket list items. And one of them was live in a different town for 3 months. So she normally lives in New York and then she goes to stay in this small town. And she ends up at a forced proximity situation because the room she was supposed to stay in at the inn had an accident and it's uninhabitable for a few weeks. So she lives with Bryce in the guest house, which is his place, and they share that for a while. They had a really beautiful slow build. It's so cute. But it did have, I'm so sorry. It did have a very, very typical third act conflict for a hero that has a disability. And I just wanted the author to do something different because it was so beautiful. There was so much great discussion about like when they had to be careful with their sexy times and how the heroine was just part of like living with her mother during her like terminal cancer had really helped her to be really open to hearing what he has to say. And the hero's grandmother was like, she was so great, but you know, she would get very like up in arms about how to help him, and it could embarrass him sometimes instead of listening to how he wants to deal with a situation. And there was trying to explain to his, you know, football buddies like that he's not ashamed that he has a disability and it's only their awkwardness that can make it weird for him. And there were so many beats in this that were great. And so many discussions that they had that I can only imagine how powerful and wonderful they feel for someone who has this as a lived experience. So I don't feel qualified to judge that part of it. And in fact, those parts of it were my favorite parts because I just thought how beautiful that is. What fell apart for me was the third act conflict and it happening the way that it did, where I'm just like, you guys had such great communication. I wanted to see it discussed in a different way. And it's like, authors just can't help themselves. They have to have an internal fucking third act conflict that ruined a beautiful book for me. Really. So this was 4 stars and I'm sad about it. But I just can't change my mind because for me, reading it, who those personal aspects of it don't hit me the same way, I was frustrated when it was over instead of happy. I did cry quite a bit on the plane, had a snotty nose behind my mask, but then it like tripped at the finish line for me. Now, if you would like to see some people review this who this touches them more than it did me, I believe my friend Tori read this book, and I'm not sure if she's doing a podcast episode about it, but I'm sure there will be one because she loved this book and she recently recommended it in her books with disability in it. So definitely check that out. I'm a bit jaded, and the jadedness won't end because we will have another one we have to talk about with that, but let's keep going through it. I read The Dawn by Serena Akeroyd, which finally broke my streak, and I had a 5-star read. I had not had many 5-star reads in the past like week and a half. I was just not having good luck. And I've said part of that is just the mood that I was in. You know, it's been hard to like focus on reading with everything that's going on. And that leads to less 5-star books for me. And it leads to me being pickier about shit. And I can't help that. But The Dawn is the first part of the Oath duet and also the beginning of the Valentini family by Serena Akeroyd. This series will fit within the 5 Points Mafia series. But this one, this duet will stand alone. Like, it will. This one does. There are mentions of the O'Donnellys, but anything that is pertinent gets reiterated in this one. And this is about Jennifer, who is the friend of some of our previous people that we met. And she's a gold digger. And she fully, proudly admits it. She is a high-class girlfriend to rich men. And that's how she survives. She is the daughter of a prostitute, and she has classed herself up, and she's in it for the money. And she ends up meeting Lucio when she's having dinner with one of her friends. He spies her, and he wants her, and he doesn't care that he's a gold digger because he wants to make her his queen. This book starts with a bang. The bang. And it unravels in a very, like, interesting way. This does have a cliffhanger, but the next one is coming out next Tuesday, so you don't have long to wait. Lucio, the way that he loved her and is helping to rebuild her self-worth, and the way he wants to honor and love her, it does warm fuzzy things for me. It really, really does. So this was a 5-star read for me, and I can't wait for the next one. I'm so excited. Like, she does a great job. Then I read With You Always by Chloe Liese. So this book I was very excited to read. This is another book with disabilities in it. Our heroine has IBM. She has an irritable bowel syndrome, as well as another term that I can't pronounce that goes with it. And our hero is autistic. He's also an artist. He's also obsessed with our heroine, and he doesn't know how to handle it. And so he's been avoiding her because she is the friend of his sister-in-law. And his family kind of conspires to put them together. So our heroine is in law school, and she's very stressed out. And so the family has this cabin that they all take turns having time at. Well, it's Axel's turn to have time at the cabin, but he has his own house not far away. And so his family was like, well, specific members of his family, tell this girl, Rooney, that she can go and stay there, knowing that Axel will be there, because they know that Axel has a thing for her, but that he's not making a move about it. Well, it turns out that the cabin has a bunch of damage, and Axel wants to get it fixed, but none of the rest of the family knows about it. So she shows up to stay there, and Axel is like, you can't stay here because there's no electricity or running water. And with our heroine's IBM, or IBS, I probably said it wrong, irritable bowel syndrome. It's IBS. I'm sorry, I said IBM. She needs to have a working bathroom at all times, you know. So there ends up being an uncle who has died and has left Axel a inheritance, which would be enough money to fix up the family cabin. But he has to be married to have it. Right, weird rule. So when our heroine Rooney finds out about this, she agrees to marry him, and they're going to get married for a certain amount of time until he can get the inheritance, and then they'll get divorced. And in return, he's like, well, you can stay with me in my house, which is a very small, almost cabin, that is his artist retreat, his home, his sanctuary. And now he's putting this woman that he is obsessed with in his home with him. And she is obsessed back with him. And of course, it's only supposed to be a marriage of convenience, but it's going to be more than that. So this was a 4-star read for me. And I'm sad. I'm so sad about it because, number one, this was a 70% build up, 80% build up to actual like bedtime stuff, which is already a tough sell for me. Then I was feeling so many great things about Rooney. So I actually have a dear, dear friend who has Crohn's disease and also has awkward bathroom stuff she has to worry about. There was a lot of talk about in this where she was afraid to be vulnerable about, you know, what her needs are. And Axel is like, I mean, it's just your life. Like, it's not icky or gross. Like, it's what you need. And I loved it so much because my friend, she has to advocate for herself at work because she needs to have a desk that is close to the bathroom. She needs to be able to have flexible breaks, and she needs to plan her drive to and from home so she knows which places she could stop if she has the urgent need of a restroom. And there's so much of that I was loving. And our hero's autism, I guess, in this is based a lot on Chloe Lise's, because is autistic, is what she says in the acknowledgments in the author's note. And so a lot of it was based on her own experience. And I really loved all of that. And then we had our third act conflict at 92% of the book. And it was fucking devastating to me, guys. It was devastating because this was another book that they have such raw communication, okay? She's found a way to be able to speak to him, know which parts of his, like, you know, anxiety of talking, like, how to get through to him. And he's done so well. And then I don't fucking care if it'd be realistic that he would freak out when like, I don't even know how to say it, but when she's offering what she's offering, that he just is like, no. It makes no fucking sense. And granted, I'm not autistic. I don't have those struggles. But the way that it was written and the way that we had laid out everything to a certain degree, I feel like, okay, here's the thing. I feel like in story structure, and this is my personal opinion as someone who's not an author, if you've taken 80% to get to we're in a solid place, that is the conflict to me. And that last 20% should be about how we're working through it, how we tell our families, how we do that. If you've had conflict and miscommunication for 80% of the book, and then you have a third act conflict that's about miscommunication, I'm ready to rip your book in half because you've tortured me this whole way through. And so all of the happy, fuzzy feelings that I was feeling, they were ruined. And this book just didn't do for me what the one before it did. Like the book 3, Ever After Always, that was a 5-star read for me. I loved it so much. And this one, I really had to keep from a rage reading this one. Now again, I have friends that have some of the issues in this book, and it means more to them because of that than it does to me. So definitely check out their reviews on this if you think I'm being too harsh, because I am completely an emotional rater of books, and this one just pushed me over the edge, and I was furious, and it couldn't win me back because there was the third act conflict at 92% and the resolution at 99%, and then I'm just like, fuck you. So sorry. I gave this one 4 stars though. I didn't rage rate it, but I still have to write my review for this one, and I don't know what to say because I'm heartbroken by this story, and I felt gypped from their beautiful communication, their beautiful bedroom play, their communication about sex, and then literally they were both saying the same thing to each other, and she didn't stop to listen because she knows how he freaks out, and he didn't believe her when she said something. And I was like, what was the point of the 90% before this? So those are my feelings, and I'm sorry, but they're true. And then the last one I want to mention is Heart of the Winter Prince. This was the second one in this trilogy. This one is the Winter Prince who has a curse on his heart, and his heart is slowly hardening to ice. Now, his sister-in-law, who is the heroine from the first book, she has a friend who collects rare artifacts, and she believes that her friend has found an artifact that could help heal his heart. So she sends her brother-in-law, the Winter Prince, to, I think his name is Bane, to, is it Iceland or Greenland? I don't even know. It's like one of the cold places, to her friend who runs an antique and like shop like this. And surprise, she's his fated mate, and she might be able to heal his heart. I really liked this one. This one was cute. This one wasn't so much enemies to lovers, but it was kind of a slow burn. But again, when you're doing a novella, a slow burn is hard. So I did give this one 4 stars, but I really loved it. And I meant to have the third one finished, but I kept getting distracted by other books that I was reading. So I'm in the middle of reading Kingly Bitten, which I was very excited to read. I'm reading the next Loraine Heath, and I want to read what's the third one? I don't know what the third one is, because there's Blood Prince, Winter Prince. I'm not sure, but I'm excited for that one. So there you go. There's my very sassy opinions. It was a wonderful week of friendship and wonder, but it was an interesting reading week for me. I read a wide variety of things, but thank you so much for watching. It was great. I don't even know what else to say, but thank you so much for watching. Make sure you check out those videos I have coming out with Crystal this week. I'm so excited, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.